In the year 2012, there was a book written by Michael Hastings. The name of that book was The Sublime and Terrifying Inside Story of Obama's Final Campaign. In this book, Mr. Hastings describes something that's very alarming about Barack Obama. He describes the captivating effect. Notice that word I just used, captivating effect, that Barack Obama had specifically on the media of America, the journalists that covered him during his presidency. I'm going to show you a quick little video. I want you to listen intently. I want you to hear what the media has to say about Barack Hussein Obama. Listen closely.
But that's the presence of Obama, even on the press corps, even on the people who follow him every day. When they're near him, they lose their mind sometimes. You know, they start behaving in ways that are juvenile and amateurish, and they swoon.
And of course, you don't.
Oh, I do. No, I did. Oh, I totally. Oh man, I first met President Obama in 2006 when he was a senator. He was in Baghdad. I was the correspondent there.
You mentioned that.
I mentioned that, yeah. And of course, I got to ask my question. So of course, I had to say, well, you know, Mr. President, this is the second time I met you. And did I ask the hardball question? Did I ask about drones? Did I ask about civil liberties? No, I did not. I guess I'm not at liberty to say what I asked about, but it was soft.
Typical. Thank you for the admission.
Notice what he said at the end. Thank you for the admission. Here we see a video of the media admitting to the world that they swooned over Obama. Like high school girls, they were in love with the captivating presence of Obama. This reporter said, I've never seen anything like it. He said when he walked in the room, all the questions we were going to ask him just disappeared like butterflies. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never seen anything like it either in American politics. From the middle of nowhere, or should I say from the depths of hell, Satan raised up his man to destroy America. From the middle of nowhere comes this senator that's never even led a Boy Scout group. And this image that caused the strongest media in the world to crumble at his feet by their own admission. Did you hear that video? He said, we were not able to ask him questions. That was his word. We were not able to hold him to account. This is a damning indictment against our media. These journalists have a critical responsibility to find the truth. But with Mr. Obama, they instead routinely gave him fawning coverage. They were bewitched by Satan's man. To this day, many journalists accept and promote what Barack Obama says, even when it's proven false. And notice that Mr. Hastings himself, you just listened to him, admitted he got caught up in that behavior. He described an opportunity that he had to interview Obama. And here's what he said. Did I ask the hardball questions? No, I did not, he admitted with a smile. Instead, he said, I asked soft questions. Bashir asked him, did you swoon around Obama? I do, Hastings said. I totally do. And Bashir said, well, thank you for the confession. I want you to think deeply. If any of you watching me right now are more than patriots, if you are spirit-filled patriots, I need you to hear what the word Yahweh has put in my mouth for America. America, you're going to survive. Because anytime Satan makes a move, Yahweh makes two, because he saw Satan's move. Oh, I wish I could preach this thing now. He saw Satan's move before he made it, and that's why in 2014, Yahweh spoke through the mouth of a prophet and said the next president of the United States will be a man named Donald. I'm raising him up to counter the plans of the enemy. The plans of the enemy was Barack Obama. And now this is Barack Obama's third term. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump did not defeat Hillary Clinton. He defeated Barack Obama. I want you to think deeply about this revelation from Mr. Hastings. It is powerful evidence of the core problem afflicting America. A problem that has since grown significantly worse. Because the media swooned over President Obama, he was never held accountable. And because of that, he was able to amass enormous power to do virtually whatever he wanted to do. The media was not willing to challenge Barack Obama. As a matter of fact, days before the election, Tom Brokaw and Charlie Rose admitted that the press never did vet the candidate, Barack Obama. But have no fear. Professor Toto has vetted him. And over the next few shows, I'm going to show you things that's going to cause your toes to curl of what the enemy brought into this nation, and yet what Yahweh is planning to do in response to it. Brokaw admits that they failed to conduct a rigorous evaluation of this man. They gave him a pass and ignored deeply concerning evidence of his radical roots. He was brought to power by the same woman that brought Ellen DeGeneres to the fore. He was brought to power by the same woman that declares there are many paths to God and no one religion has the answer. On election night in 2008, MSNBC's Chris Matthews said, listen, I just want you to listen, beloved. Chris Matthews says in 2008, the feeling that most people get when they hear Barack Obama speak, he said, I felt this thrill going up my leg. That's what happens when the press becomes spellbound. What could be more dangerous than a spellbound media? You saw when the spell was broken, didn't you? When Trump won the election and they went to war with him. Why? I'm going to explain it. Give me just a few more minutes before you go to bed tonight. What could be more dangerous? Without a free and a truthful media, a republic cannot survive. Because the journalists swooned, because they avoided the difficult questions, because they made a hero out of Barack Obama. This man took the highest office in the land 3 times now. How did he do it? Because there's a dangerous, demonic spirit that has been released upon America for such a time as this. How did this destruction begin? It began with the presidency of Barack Obama. I've always told you in this classroom, Donald Trump is the creation of who? Who? Is any student still with me that remembers me teaching you who created Donald Trump? Let me wait for an answer. I want to make sure my students are listening to me. Who created Donald Trump? Who created Donald Trump? besides God, of course. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. God, of course, but I'm speaking politically. All right? So there you go. Krista Steinberger, you get 5 gold stars from Professor Toto, and you get an I Love Toto cup. Oh, yes, you do. Because you said, of course, God is the correct answer. I should have made that plain. Barack Obama created Donald Trump. Why? Because it was the presidency of Barack Obama that began America on a trajectory. A trajectory. Let me tell you, Hillary Clinton is not the problem. Bill Clinton was not the problem. Those were just politicians. Barack Obama is much more than a politician. He is the one that drove America so far to the left that only Donald Trump could have pulled her back towards the center by being so far to the right. What you're seeing in America right now is all the results of the Obama presidency. The reason that Kamala Harris is in the White House today is because of Barack Obama. Everything that is happening is because of Barack Obama. Several weeks ago, I told you about the news media, how they were in love with Barack Obama. I played you a video clip of a news reporter that's saying when they got around him, they couldn't even ask him hard questions. They were enamored by Barack Obama. He came with a strange aura. He came out of nowhere. He's unlike any other president that America has ever had. His public persona has been shaped by 3 memoirs, which the media has accepted as face value. However, tonight, in part 2 of America Under Attack, I want to bring you now to Barack Obama's history. Now, you may be watching and saying, Barack Obama's old news. You're so wrong. You are so wrong. Everything in the news today can be traced back to Barack Obama. There are many disturbing truths about his childhood and his early adulthood that he does not mention in his autobiographies that should have been known and examined when the American people were considering him for the nation's most powerful office. Barack Obama came from nowhere. No one had ever heard of him. No one knew him. His Jezebel co-partner, Oprah Winfrey, was used by that agenda to be the one that brought him to the world. No legislative history, no real political history. He had never led anything, and yet he stole America's infatuation. It was unseemly. It was unnatural, the way Barack Obama came in. And tonight, I want to bring you to his beginning. And I want to see if we can find out how America came under attack through the presidency of Barack Obama. His biological father, let's start there. That's a good starting point, was a womanizer from Kenya who Barack Obama only met one time. This man in Kenya abandoned Barack Obama when he was a young child. But that was not Barack's only abandonment. Years later, his mother, a white lady, his father, an African. So when I hear someone say that Barack Obama was America's first black president, I cringe because that's a lie. He was what in New Orleans we call a mulat, half and half. A mulatte, I think is how it's pronounced. So sorry, mulatte. He was not America's first black president. he was America's first mixed president. So let's get it straight, all right? So years later, he was abandoned by his mother as well. Sad story. And he was left with his grandparents. He had a very sad childhood. Now, one thing I know about these childhoods, when you have abandonment from a father and a mother, when you are dealing with not having a father figure in your life, you will find a father figure that will speak into your life. He was a very vulnerable and emotionally neglected boy. Now, here's what I want to say as a pastor. When Satan, the one that controls this world that we live in, he's the God of this world, he loves to find vulnerable children that has no one protecting them from his influence, from his lies. And he loves to attach himself. I'm pulling back the curtain tonight. I'm going to show you America under attack, where it began. This young boy was left vulnerable and alone. The enemy is always looking for his next man to promote. To get in that child's mind, the father and the mother needs to be gone. The protection of the mind comes from the home of a father and a mother. He was confused and angry in search of father and mother figures. He wrote a biography called Rising Star, The Making of Barack Obama. I'm sorry, he didn't write it. David Garrow wrote the book, if you want to get it. It's called Rising Star, The Making of Barack Obama. When I read the book, my mind was blown how we elected, I didn't, but how they elected a man that America knew nothing about. Here's what David Garrow writes in 1970. He says in 1970, when Obama was 9 or 10 years old, his mother hired an openly gay 24-year-old cross-dressing man to be the cook and the nanny. Now, in this book, it is said that the babysitter would not let young Obama see him in women's clothing, but he would put on his makeup in front of Obama. So in the formative years of the next president of the United States of America, now, not Bill Clinton, not George Bush, those men are raised in homes with what we would call Christian morals, values. Barack Obama was not raised in that seedbed of values, the Christian faith, or anything to ground him in morality. One of the first influences on his life was basically a transgender babysitter. Now, he wasn't transgender, but back in 1970, that was as close as you could get. He was a cross-dressing, and Satan himself put this cross-dressing man and Obama in his care. Now, Garrow notes that Obama's main challenges growing up had nothing to do with race. Now, this is what really gets me when I hear the black community praise Barack Obama. We elected one of our own. Let me set the record straight. First of all, you didn't. He's half white, okay? Number two, he was raised in Hawaii, the most culturally diverse place in America. Obama never suffered from racism. He lived in Aloha, okay, where everyone there, it's not predominantly white, okay? So to say he understands your suffering in America. No, that's not quite true. One of his close friends said that Obama's parents was a total and complete mystery. He said that Obama never spoke about them. He said, I knew nothing about Barry's father, and I can't say that I knew he had a mother at all. I'm trying to paint a picture for you tonight. I'm going to show you how Satan has raised up a man to begin the attack on America, to fundamentally reimagine America. What other president said, let the transgenders go in the bathroom with your daughters? What other president ever did that? Only one that was raised by one. See, there was an attack of the enemy, brothers and sisters. There was an attack of the enemy on America through Barack Obama. I'm fixing to prove it to you as I go more into tonight's monologue. You're going to want to share this monologue with people that doesn't know where all. Have you ever woke up and said, what happened to America? Where did this ungodliness? We didn't have this for 200 and something years. Not on this level. Nothing like in the last 20 years. I don't recognize the nation because it's been fundamentally been reimagined by a man raised by a transgender. Now, during his junior year of high school, let's move forward. Obama was a member of the Shoom Gang. Of course, that's for mushroom. The Shoom Gang, Hawaiian slang for smoking marijuana. It was known that Obama smoked marijuana, but the media downplayed how heavily he used this drug during his preparatory years. He and his friends smoked marijuana daily, and when they could afford it, they experimented with cocaine and heroin. Now, you may ask, well, everybody's done that. What's the big deal? I'm going to tell you the big deal. The best mind that Satan can get a hold of is an altered mind. And it looks to me, during Obama's formative years, he was heavily involved with his mind being relaxed, his mind being completely open to the working of Satan. Now, the group's dealer, the Shroom Gang, had a dealer. Guess who that dealer was? He was a homosexual by the name of Ray Boyer. Obama and his friends called him Gay Ray. Ray lived in a bus in an abandoned warehouse in Hawaii. He was heavily into pornography. One of Obama's friends recalled that Gay Ray would get the boys high, and then they would all watch pornography together. Now, this is coming from one of the members of the Shroom Gang that talked to the author of this book. This is what he said. This is his testimony, that they would go to Gay Ray's, get their marijuana, and watch porn together. What else is coming into the mind of Barry Hussein Obama? Now, this is interesting. Obama's high school yearbook, each graduating senior had a quarter of a page to use however they wanted to use. All of Obama's friends included references to their memories, writing their initials. But on Obama's quarter page, he acknowledged his friends, and then he gave special knowledge to Ray. Who is Ray? Gay Ray. Garrow writes that Obama, alone of all the Shroom Gang, had singled out their weird, gay, porn-showing drug dealer by name and thanked him, are you ready, for all the good times. That's in his high school yearbook to this day. He thanked Ray, Gay Ray, smoke doping, porn watching Gay Ray for all the good times. I'm telling you the truth tonight. You can do with it what you want to. Now, you can go chase rabbit holes that Donald Trump's coming back on a white horse, but I'm trying to bring you back and show you what Donald Trump is fighting and what is fighting this nation. You need to know something besides wishful thinking. Let's get to the root of the matter, and then you can see the darkness that we are fighting in this nation. The most powerful man in our history in the last 20 years was Barack Obama, is Barack Obama. This is where the attack on America began. Now, when someone has that kind of a childhood, Satan exploits that. The fruit strongly suggests to me that in the case of young Barack Obama, Satan exploited him in a profound way. Now, let's move forward. Let's talk about racism and communism. One of the most influential father figures in Obama's life was his maternal grandfather's black friend by the name of Frank Marshall Davis. I dare you, I challenge you to research Frank Marshall Davis. This man began the training of Barack Obama's mind that's already been exploited by a transgender nanny, by Gay Ray, and by all of the drugs he had taken. Now he moves on up, and Satan has another mentor for him because he has no father. He's got another mentor that comes in by the name of Frank Marshall Davis. And Davis was literally a card-carrying communist. He was a member of the Communist Party, a socialist of the extreme order. Now, so much so that Frank Marshall Davis had been surveilled by the FBI from 1940s and the 1950s. He was also a poet and a what? A pornographer. Okay? I'm fixing to show you who Satan sent to the White House, and then right after him, who Yahweh sent to meet the battle. Oh, hallelujah. When you know the truth, it'll set you free. You don't worry about anything. The American Spectator printed an article about Davis, Frank Marshall Davis, October the 12th, 2012, and I quote, "Meet the hardcore communist who mentored the 44th president of the United States of America." In short, Frank Marshall Davis's writings were outrageous. Now, how many's heard of Jeremiah Wright or Bill Ayers? Okay? Those men are tame in comparison to Frank Marshall Davis. Now, who is Bill Ayers? He's a white American socialist terrorist and an associate of Barack Obama. Researching Bill Ayers, Ayers. Jeremiah Wright and Bill Ayers doesn't compare to Frank Marshall Davis. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Obama wrote an autobiography, and he refers more than 20 times in that autobiography to Frank. He doesn't say the full name. He just calls him Frank. Later in that autobiography, Frank is removed from the original autobiography. 20 times he refers to a communist socialist as his mentor. When he started his political career decades later, his relationship with Davis would become a liability. And here's what Obama said. He said that the relationship was nothing and that he only met with him about 15 times. Hello? You met with him 15 times, but there was nothing to the relationship. A card-toting communist socialist that's training the 44th president of the United States. Let's fast forward. Let's go to 1980, where Obama was attending the Occidental College in Pasadena, California. During a summer vacation from college, he returns to Hawaii, and there he experienced a situation with his grandmother, who was white. She had been followed by a black man, and she was scared. She told Obama that the man scared her. So Obama went to see Frank Marshall Davis and sought his advice on the matter. According to Barack Obama, in his autobiography, Frank said, "Your grandmother is right to be scared. She understands that black people have a reason to hate. That's just how it is. For your sake, I wish it was otherwise, but it's not. So you might as well get used to it." So now Barack Obama has been trained in his mind that it is just what it is. Black people are going to hate white people. That's just the way it is. This is what his mentor is telling him. Frank Marshall Davis was instrumental in fanning the flames of racial grievance and inspiring the racial agenda of the future president of the United States. How many remembers 20 years ago when black people and white people got along? We worked together, went to church together, we fellowshiped together. How many remembers that? When there was not this problem. There is a hate now. America is in trouble because there is a hate. It was Frank Marshall Davis that told the next president of the United States that hate was okay, hate was normal, and hate is the way it had to be. And when did this nation begin hating one another? Now, Obama continues to write. He said, while at Occidental College, to avoid being mistaken for a sellout, I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students, the foreign students, the Chicanos, the Marxist professors, and the structural feminist and the punk rock performance artist. So in this quote, Obama admits that he chose Marxist professors as his friends. And listen to what he said. I'm quoting Barack Obama. He said, I chose my friends carefully. The politically active black students, the Marxist professors. One of Barack Obama's professors was Lawrence Golden, Goldyn. He taught comparative politics. Golden was known on the Occidental campus for being its only open homosexual professor. Is anybody seeing a pattern here? Okay. Here's what Obama said when asking about his perspective on homosexual lifestyles. Here's what Obama said. My favorite professor out of all his professors, the gay one is his favorite. My favorite professor, my first year in college, was one of the first openly gay people. He was a terrific guy. In later interviews, Obama discussed his strong friendship with this professor and admired how this professor displayed comfort in his own skin. What does that mean, Barack? What does that mean? That your gay professor, you loved the confidence he had in his own skin. Now, Garrow wrote in this book, and I quote, He wrote somewhat, now everyone listen to this. He wrote somewhat elusively to his first girlfriend that he had thought about and considered being gay, but ultimately had decided that a same-sex relationship would be more challenging and demanding than developing one with the opposite sex. In the fall of 1980, Obama accepted an invitation from a friend at Occidental College. Who was that friend? Muhammad Shandu, Chandoo. I'm giving you all of this so you can research for yourselves. Muhammad Shandu invited Obama to live with him in a 2-bedroom apartment. And here is what is written about Obama and Shandu. They became the closest of friends. That's what Barack Obama said. Marijuana was a regular nightly relaxant that Hassan and Barry shared together. Now, they admit they smoked cocaine and tried psychedelic mushrooms. Obama later admitted to using drugs months before the 2008 presidential election. The New York Times published this headline: "Old friends say that drugs played a big part in Obama's life." Such drug use, brothers and sisters, weakens our mind and makes a person more susceptible to damaging spiritual forces. My question tonight, as I close with the attack on America, did these activities, did these connections open a door within the life of the man who would become the American president? I believe it was. I believe it did. And I believe if you've ever wondered what has happened to your beloved America, I believe that Satan raised this man up from a child, influenced his thinking, gave him the personality of Jim Jones, set him on the stage to woo the whole world, forced upon our society gays in the military. Do you remember? Bill Clinton said what? Don't ask, don't tell. It was a smart move. Barack said, let them in. It was from that moment when that evil spirit began to push his agenda on America. It was then that we, the people, the Spirit of the Lord stirred us up and raised up another man. Oh, hallelujah. Anytime Satan makes a move, God makes a move. When Satan raised up his man, God raised up his man and stirred your heart and my heart. He stirred our hearts to get behind that man, to fight this evil demonic agenda, to destroy America. Because, brothers and sisters, America is under attack, and you are her only hope. Until today, I did not realize the man behind the curtain is Barack. You see him there? Do you see him back there pulling the levers? Do you see him back there controlling the man on the screen? You know why that is? Because Joe Biden is Barack Obama's avatar. All of a sudden, I knew why God had given me this parable, because my voice would be used for these 4 years. Now, when God's done with me, you'll never see Toto again. I don't know when my time is up with all of this, but you'll turn on one night and never see me again, because God will be done with me. being a voice to America, I have revealed to you through this parable the entire 4 years you and I are living in right now. And I had no idea. Even till this very day, I didn't know what my show was all about. But God has raised me up to expose the man behind the curtain, for the voice of truth to go out. For the voice of truth to go out so that you could know the truth and not be persuaded by the lies. It's all been a parable about the man Barack Obama. He is the man that rules the United States of America right now, Barack Obama. Many people are beginning to wake up to what we've been teaching you for these 3 years. Joe Biden is Obama's presidential avatar. Yes, Biden is the congressionally certified president of the United States. Notice how I said that. I did not say he's the legitimate president. I said he is the congressionally certified president of the United States of America. He is a usurper, and I want the whole world to hear what I'm about to tell you, because you're about to hear the truth. Joe Obama is a usurper. He has usurped the throne of the American presidency from her legitimate president. And yes, it's Joe Obama's picture that will go in the history books as the 46th president. And yes, he is the guest of honor at all the banquets that he attends. And yes, he is technically running for re-election, despite the fact that his campaign is literally non-existent. It's impossible to overlook the fact that the man's mental health is in a free fall. As a matter of fact, he has spent 40% of his presidency on vacation. He's often tired and confused. I showed you the video last night where he left the meeting not knowing what world he was in. And yet, in spite of all of what I just told you, somehow massive things are getting done at the White House. Unpopular, self-destructive, immoral policies are getting ramrodded through the Congress, through the separation of powers, through the checks and balances, not to mention tens of millions of concerned citizens who are finding themselves in deeper debt. Bidenomics is destroying the nation, and they're being oppressed by this non-existent person called Joe Biden. The man wielding this power, brothers and sisters, is not the man in the White House. It is not the man on the screen whose mental, physical, political, and criminal vulnerabilities are now on full display. And yet, he's destroying a nation when he doesn't even know what world he's in. Because the man on the screen is not the man that's ruling the nation. It is the man who is taking advantage of that pitiful, vulnerable man behind the scenes. Barack Obama is that man. After Barack Obama was no longer president, he was presidentially unemployed. Immediately, what did Barack do? He went on to use government agencies that he no longer had control of to spy on and frame his successor, the sitting president of the United States of America. The man literally does not leave Washington, D.C. Do you not know that every other president is so anxious to get out of D.C. and fly back to Vermont or California or Mar-a-Lago, anywhere but the swamp? And yet Hussein Obama chose to stay in his swamp so he could keep control of it. He remained in D.C. strictly to sabotage the Trump presidency. He stayed there to help engineer the COVID crisis. He stayed there to push through these election changes to make sure that these mail-in ballots were sent out all across the nation. He stayed there to falsify the 2020 election. January the 5th, 2017 is the official start date of a coup led by Barack Obama against the United States of America to undermine a duly elected sitting president of the United States of America, Donald John Trump. January the 5th, it started, the coup. But January the 5th, 2025, that coup will come to an end. Here we are, September 2023, and we're still in the death grip of that coup. America is still controlled by the instigators of that coup. And now, despite the fact that journalists have been unwilling to cover Barack Obama, giving him nothing but praise, people are waking up. Journalists have had a remarkable lack of curiosity about Barack Obama, and this has helped him in his intention of staying out of the headlines. But he's in my headlines. He's been in my headlines for 3 years because I know who it is behind that curtain. Obama's goal is what? To retain the presidency without being the president. To be behind the curtain while he puts his avatars up on the screen. That's his goal. Whether he does it through Biden, Kamala, or Michael Obama, or whoever else he chooses, Newsom, Barack Obama is working now on his 4th term as the real power behind the presidency. To understand what Obama is currently orchestrating, and it's big, you first must understand what he's done in the past. Let me break it down for you. On January the 5th, 2015, 2 weeks before Donald Trump's inauguration, Obama met in his Oval Office, and I've told you this before, with 5 people. James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Joe Biden, Michael Rogers, Susan Rice, and Sally Yates. Sorry, 8 people. Let's go over that list again. James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, Joe Biden, Michael Rogers, Susan Rice, and Sally Yates. There was a meeting 2 weeks before America's duly elected president would take over the presidency. What did they talk about in that meeting? Joe Biden was there. Susan Rice, who has ran Joe Biden's presidency from behind the scenes with Barack. What did they talk about? We know now. We know the truth, what they talked about. These highest officials, led by Obama, were strategizing about how to continue an illegal investigation on the next sitting president, who would be their own boss. Treason. The next president was being investigated by Obama even after Obama left the White House. Now, what happened on January the 6th, 2017, after that meeting? I'll tell you what happened. There was a press release. The CIA released an intelligence assessment. And what did that intelligence assessment say the day after that meeting? It said that Russian President Vladimir Putin helped Donald Trump win the election. Don't ever let them criticize you for questioning an illegitimate election. They started something they cannot stop. We didn't start this, darling, but we will finish it. We're going to finish it. But you see, oh, the web we weave when we plan to deceive. Now, it was that assessment that started what? You already know, the Robert Mueller investigation and every subsequent legal action against Donald Trump came from that treasonous meeting. You need to know these things so you won't let people play with your head. They were planning to block him from fulfilling his mandate that he was given by 60 million American citizens. We gave him a mandate to govern. They gave a mandate to make sure he could not govern. That was only the beginning of Obama's treasonous activity. That meeting, January the 5th, that started the coup, set off a tangle of political and legal conflict that dodged Trump throughout his presidency. And then the story continues. Obama committed further treasonous acts to ensure that Trump would not get a second term, forcing Trump out of office, using a network of political operatives and the excuse of a coronavirus scare. Obama and his people dramatically increased absentee ballots and dramatically decreased ballot verification, enabling the man behind the curtain to steal the election from Donald Trump in 6 battleground states. Dr. Peter Navarro, that was convicted today of contempt of Congress. Don't worry, it'll get overruled on the appeal. Dr. Peter Navarro, an advisor to President Trump, authored a 3-part report detailing evidence of the theft of the election, which Steve Bannon, Congress still had to certify the election as legitimate. Now, I want you to watch this now. I want you to see what happened. Navarro did the report. The Congress has to certify a presidential election or there is no president on January the 6th. That's when the president is elected. The president's never been elected by the people. Ever. The president is elected by the House of Representatives on January the 6th. On that day, 100 members of Congress, did you hear me? 100 out of 535, basically 1 out of 5, were ready to present evidence of fraud and request investigations of that fraud. They were going to do that before the Congress with the evidence of the fraud in full view of the American people and their representatives. Congress and Vice President Mike Pence would decline, or they could decline, to certify a problematic election. You've got 100 representatives standing up to refute the election, presenting their evidence. That was a lawful, constitutional, and non-violent strategy that Barack Obama could not allow to work. That's why Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund confirmed that the FBI kept Capitol police officers in the dark about known agitators who infiltrated the protest of the certification on January the 6th at the Capitol building. They also blocked the National Guard support for hours, and that police chief is convinced that intelligence officials were aware of a plan to infiltrate nonviolent protesters. Senators and representatives stood up on January the 6th. They began to debate. Irregularities were being talked about in front of the whole world. All this was going down as they began to lay out the evidence. And then all of a sudden, violence erupted inside. What do we do? The protesters are being allowed to enter the building. All the members of Congress are evacuated. And why? Beloved friend, now all the debate will stop. All the evidence will not get shown to the world. All of the representatives will be silenced because of the violence. Ladies and gentlemen, they were not silenced because of the violence. They were silenced because of the man behind the curtain that helped to ensure that that violence would be allowed inside that Capitol building. Don't look at the avatar. Look at the man behind the curtain. Then, 8 o'clock that night, 127 members objected to certifying Arizona's presidential vote. 145 members voted to reject Pennsylvania's votes. But guess what they didn't get to do? Debate. Why? There was so much violence. We've got to hurry back before midnight. We've got to hurry back. But they were outvoted. Their objections were unheard. And at 3:44 a.m., Pence announced that Biden had won the presidency. What happened immediately after that? The radical left rapidly impeached and indicted Donald Trump for the violence. It was an attempt to convict him and block him from ever returning to the presidency. But what happened? He was what? Exonerated. Now, here's what Professor Toto wants to know. That man was already tried for January the 6th crimes, and he was exonerated. How can he be tried again? Is that not double jeopardy? He was already exonerated, found not guilty. Their plan was to get him out. The violence was not Trump's fault. It was Obama's plan. Trump needed peaceful debate. That's what Trump needed, was all of these senators, all of it, to give he needed peaceful debate. Obama needed a riot to shut down the debate. And then President Trump, listen to this, tried to use his platform on Twitter to warn the American people what was really happening at the Stop the Steal rally that day. However, the man behind the curtain was in control, we found out now, of Twitter. It was Michelle Obama, Michael Obama. Does anybody remember on January the 7th, Michael Obama demanded that Twitter ban the president permanently? Michael Obama did that. Twitter obeyed him or her within 24 hours. The man behind the curtain. The man behind the curtain. Literally cutting Donald Trump off from 88 million followers. And then what happens? God raises up the richest man on the planet to go and buy Twitter. And what did that man do? He opened up the computer code so that users could prove how Twitter executives were determining what they see and how they were limiting the reach of conservative content. By publicizing internal Twitter documents, Musk and a team of independent journalists proved that Twitter and other Silicon Valley companies were basically subsidiaries of Barack Obama. And now Obama's behind all this lawfare against Donald Trump. Alvin Bragg, the man behind the curtain. It's not Alvin Bragg. Don't see the avatar. See the nutcase behind the curtain. See the homosexual that fantasizes about men all day long. It ain't Bragg. Bragg ain't nothing to brag about. It's definitely not Jack Kevorkian Smith with his little inbreed looking self. No, it's the man behind the curtain. Jack is his little white avatar. Oh, and don't ever think Granny Fanny had the half of a brain how to do anything. Don't ever think Granny Fanny knew what she was doing. No! Granny Fanny belongs to Mr. Manny. The Manny behind the curtain. I mean, Jack Smith the Ripper is a staunch supporter of Obama. His wife, Katie, made large donations to Obama. Now, my time is gone. I want to end this for you tonight the right way. I want to tell you something. I want you to listen to me. Obama's the man behind the curtain. But I want to introduce to you the man behind the curtain. Because if you don't get, this is the part where all other podcasters leave off. This is the part where you've got to go. See, we know all that about Obama. But until you know Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12, you will not know the real man behind the curtain. Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, Barack Obama, but against something that controls Barack Obama, principalities. We wrestle against the power that's playing Obama while Obama plays Biden. We wrestle against the rulers of the darkness of this age. Who is that? The fallen angels, the demonic powers, the half-breed Nephilim. We wrestle against things we cannot see, against spiritual wickedness in high places. But how do these spirits get a hold of people? Through an open door. I have proven to you that young Barack Obama was being conditioned by these homosexuals, by these drug-smoking, transgender, babysitter transgender, this young boy that had not the protection of a father. This young boy that his mother placed in him in the care of a cross-dressing babysitter, this young boy began to become conditioned for these principalities to take over his mind. And then those powers, those malevolent spirits, would empower Barack Obama to destabilize America, God's end-time Israelite nation. Just like the Antichrist will get his power from the beast, Obama gets his power from the beast. The beast behind the man behind the curtain. Satan is real, beloved. Satan is empowering Obama to fundamentally transform America, the last great nation on planet Earth, by casting down all morals to the ground. I'm not going to read these scriptures to you, but in the book of Amos, chapter 7, verse 1 through verse 2, you will find the Obama presidency. Remember, anything that happened in the Old Testament is for our understanding because it will happen again. When you read Amos 7, 1 through 2, it's describing an end-time Israelite nation, which America and Great Britain and many of the Commonwealth nations are part of. This nation would become small and weak due to this satanic attack. We're under that satanic attack now. Brothers and sisters, I'm going over time tonight because you must understand when you fight for America, you have to fight on your knees. You have to fight in faith. You're not fighting men. Satan has determined to bring down this nation. But God Almighty, now I just showed you the man behind the curtain, right? And I just showed you the beast behind the man behind the curtain. Would you allow me to show you the God behind the beast, behind the man, behind the curtain? His name is Yahweh. He is the God of Israel. He sits high and he looks way down low, and he loves America. He sent the founders of this nation here to establish this nation for the work of God. Brothers and sisters, I want you to hear me. You and I were given a birthright blessing in America. And when you read Amos 7 and 1 through 2, you will read about the presidency of Barack Obama. Verse 4 of Amos 7 describes his second presidential term. And this has upset the Almighty God. That's why Yahweh looked down when he saw the beast find his man, Barack. Yahweh looked down and found him a man by the name of Trump. What we're seeing right now, beloved, if you don't get anything else I've said tonight, you better get this. We are not in politics anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore. We are in an arena for the very soul, the very spirits of mankind. And anytime Satan, the beast, raises up a man, Yahweh will raise up a man that's greater. When the Antichrist rises, he'll look up to the sky, and there will come Yeshua, the Son of God, to defeat him. It never fails. Ever. Jeroboam, in 2 Kings 14, 26 through 28, Yahweh raised up Jeroboam to defeat the men that Satan had raised up. 6 years ago, Yahweh used Donald Trump to save America from the radical Obama administration that sought to transform us to a godless society. But Barack Obama came roaring back. Why? This is war. The Bible said that Jeroboam, when you read 2 Kings 14:28, Jeroboam had to war to get it back. This is war. That's why you can never be disturbed by what you see. You can never be alarmed by the arrest and the indictment. It's all war. Trump will have to fight a war to recover his office stolen from him in 2020. God said in his word that we will win this war. Tonight, I leave you with these words, and don't you ever forget what I'm about to tell you. Yes, there is a man behind the curtain, and yes, there is a beast behind the man behind the curtain. But when it's all over and done with, there is a God behind the beast that's behind the man that's behind the curtain. God bless you. Good night.
I ask not for riches, I ask not for fame, I ask for the nation in Jesus' name. I ask for America, I call her by name, I present her to the Father in Jesus' name. I ask for America, I call her by name, I present her to the Father in Jesus' name. With the congregation sing, I ask for America. I ask for